Hey, how's it going, everyone? Hello, Hitesh, how's it going? How are you? I really liked your stream. Hey, if you could like and retweet this, I'd appreciate it. So, as you can tell by the title of the stream, celebrity death. So, any celebrity that has passed away or famous person, I will give you the obviously the when they died, the circumstances surrounding their deaths. And also I'll give you their birth name and where they were born, what year they were born, and everything like that. And then I'll give you their final resting place and whether they were cremated or, when they died, what the method was. So, and also I'll be taking requests for names as well. So please let me know if you have any requests as far as names of people, of celebrities that have died, and I'd be glad to uh, look those up for you. So, people not able to see my stream. Look those up for you. So. Hey Lydia, how's it going today? How are you? Thanks for joining me today. Um, so this is going to be part 5. Oh, okay. Hey RRK 1965, how are you today? As you can tell, this is Celebrity Deaths Part 5, and if you could like and retweet this, I'd appreciate it, and then we can get some more viewers in here. But I'm going to be going through a number of celebrity names that have passed away, giving you the circumstances behind them, and their final resting places and everything like that you would want to know about their circumstances. And I'll be taking some requests for names as well. So if you have any names that you'd like to give me, and I definitely would be willing to look them up and give you all the information I can. So if you could like and retweet this, I'd appreciate that. Hey Lizeth, how's it going? Thank you for joining me. Appreciate it. Hey Hitesh, how's it going? Thank you for joining me. Please comment if you're here. Comment, thank you. Appreciate it. Otherwise, I feel like I'm talking to myself. Well, comment. Oh, thank you very much. Hi there. Thank you. How are you? Please like and retweet this. I appreciate it. So, are there any celebrity names that have passed away, which you'd like me to look up? Otherwise, I will, start giving some names. Hey, L.A. Lewis, looks like you're gone. Okay. So, do you have any requests for names? I'll give you a minute or so. Hey, Giovanni, how's it going? Thank you for joining me. Mr. Rideshare, thank you for joining me. Thank you for liking, retweeting this, Giovanni. Do you have any celebrity names that you can request that have passed away? I would be glad to look that up for you and give you any information as far as circumstances and where they were born, final resting place, and everything that you would want to know. Oh, you're tired. It's all right. It's a long night last night, huh? Looked like you and Malia were having a real good time there. Did you do anything after the game? Did you go out to a bar or something, or were you pretty tired after the game ended? Or I'd be interested to know. Stefan Bruin, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. So, as I'm talking, if you have any names that you'd like to give request as far as celebrity deaths, I'd be glad to give that to you. But I'm going to start off with, let's see. I'm going to start off with an American musician named Eddie Cochran, and he was very popular in the 1950s, and so he was a rockabilly musician, and some of his most famous songs were Come On Everybody, Something Else, and Summertime Blues. Hey Natasha, how's it going? So right now I'm going over the musician Eddie Cochran, and as usual, please give me requests if you want me to look up any famous celebrities that have passed away. So, and Franco says, I went home and finished up some work, then I had a few drinks. Okay. Alrighty then. So again, right now I'm going over the musician Eddie Cochran. So Eddie Cochran was born Edward Raymond Eddie Cochran on October 3rd of 1938, and he died at the age of 21 in April 17th of 1960. And he was an American musician, and Cochran's rockabilly songs such as Come On Everybody, Something Else, and Summertime Blues were very popular in the late 1950s and early 1960s. So Edward Raymond Cochran was born, again, 1938, died in 1960. He was born in Albert Lea, Minnesota, and he died in Bath, Somerset, England on April 17th, 1960. So and he's also a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So let's get to some details about his death. So on Saturday, April 16th, 1960, at about 11:50 p.m., while on tour in the United Kingdom, 21-year-old Cochran died as a result of a traffic accident. A Ford Consul, not as widely reported, a London Hackney carriage traveling through Chippenham, Wiltshire on the A4. The speeding taxi blew a tire, lost control into a lamppost on Rowden Hill, where a plaque now marks the spot. No other car was involved. Cochran, who was seated in the center of the back seat, threw himself over his fiancée, songwriter Sharon Sheeley, to shield her, and was thrown out of the car when the door flew open. He was taken to St. Martin's Hospital, Bath, where he died at 4:10 p.m. the following day of severe head injuries. And Cochran's body was flown home, and his remains were buried on April 25th, 1960, at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Cypress, California. Sharon Seeley and singer Gene Vincent were also in the car, and they survived the crash. So unfortunately, Eddie Cochran was the only one that died in that car crash. A memorial stone to commemorate Eddie Cochran can be found in the grounds of St. Martin's Hospital in Bath, and the stone was restored in 2010 on the 50th anniversary of his death and can be found in the old chapel grounds at the hospital. A memorial plaque can also be found next to the sundial at the back of the old chapel. So there's a memorial plaque at Rowden Hill in Chippenham. So let me show that to you. So it says, Eddie Cochran, Cherished Memories, 1960, 1938 to 1960. So that's actually in England. And I'm going to get to your comments in just one second. I want to show you, there's another website that I use called findagrave.com. And if they do have it, it will show you the gravestone, and it'll tell you, the exact location of where these people are actually buried. So let me show you a second here. So Eddie Cochran. So Eddie Cochran was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Cypress, Orange County, California. And let me show you, let's see. So here's his gravestone right here. So that's at Forest Lawn Memorial Park. It's kind of hard to make out, but there's his gravestone. And here's actually a close-up of it. A tribute to the beloved Eddie Cochran. And here's another photograph right here. Okay, and then this is just so it's called the Forest Lawn Memorial Parks and Mortuaries in Cypress, California. Okay, so yes, there's a lot of famous celebrities that are buried in California, especially in the Los Angeles area. There's some well-known cemeteries called, one of them is called Hollywood Forever Cemetery. I believe that's in Glendale, California, if I'm not mistaken. And then they have Westwood Memorial Park as well. And I think there's a few others, but yeah, there's a lot of celebrities that are buried in the Los Angeles County. So let's get to some comments. Giovanni says, I'm trying to think on celebrity deaths. Cher. Do you mean Cher's former husband, Sonny Bono? Is that what you're referring to? I'm pretty sure Cher is alive. Yeah, she is. She is alive. That's right. Yeah, Cher is definitely alive. And Giovanni says, "Wow, really? Are you sure?" Natasha says, "Low, pretty sure. Yes, she is. She is definitely alive. She's had many plastic surgeries, but yeah, she's alive. I think she's like 69 or 70 years old." Let's see. Oh, he's near him. Yes. Chef MC57, thank you for liking and retweeting this. I appreciate it. How are you today? Again, as you can tell by the title of my stream, Celebrity Deaths Part 5, I'm going to be going through a number of celebrities and giving you the circumstances of how they died, their final resting place, and all the information that you would want to know. And I'll be taking celebrities. I'm sorry. I'm going to be taking requests for celebrities' names. So if you have any names to give me, I'd be glad to look them up for you. Okay, so Giovanni wants to know, how about the infamous Bob Marley? Oh, sure, absolutely. Okay. The wind cries Amy. Hi, Pop Culture. It's Amy. Oh, hello. Thank you for liking and retweeting this. I appreciate it. And James says, I can't remember if he died of gangrene or something. Well, let's find out. I think he may have died of cancer, but let me look that up for you. So, let's go into the archives. Bob Marley. Okay. Okay. So Bob Marley was born Nesta Robert Marley on February 6th of 1945 in 9 Mile, St. Anne, Jamaica. And he died May 11th of 1981 at the age of 36 in Miami, Florida. And his official cause of death was metastatic melanoma. So that's actually a type of cancer. So, if you're not aware of who Bob Marley was, he was a Jamaican reggae singer, songwriter, and musician. And he was a guitarist as well. So let's give you some more details on his death. So in July of 1977, Marley was found to have a type of malignant melanoma under the nail of a toe. Contrary to urban legend, the lesion was not primarily caused by an injury during a football match that year, but was instead a symptom of the already existing cancer. Marley turned down his doctor's advice to have his toe amputated, citing his religious beliefs, and instead the nail and nail bed were removed and a skin graft taken from his thigh to cover the area. Despite his illness, he continued touring and was in the process of scheduling a world tour in 1980. So, Bob Marley appeared at the Stanley Theater, now called the Benedum Center for the Performing Arts in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on September 23rd of 1980. It would be his last concert. Shortly after, Marley's health deteriorated as the cancer had spread throughout his body, and the rest of the tour was canceled, and Marley sought treatment at the Bavarian clinic of Joseph Issel's, where he received a controversial type of cancer therapy, which is called Issel's treatment, partly based on the avoidance of certain foods, drinks, and other substances. After fighting the cancer without success for 8 months, Marley boarded a plane for his home in Jamaica. While Marley was flying home from Germany to Jamaica, his vital functions worsened, and after landing in Miami, Florida, he was taken to the hospital for immediate medical attention. Bob Marley died on May 11th, 1981 at Cedars of Lebanon Hospital in Miami, which is now the University of Miami Hospital, at the age of 36. The spread of melanoma to his lungs and brain caused his death. His final words to his son Ziggy were, "Money can't buy life." Marley received a state funeral in Jamaica on May 21st, 1981, which combined elements of Ethiopian Orthodoxy and Rastafari tradition. He was buried in a chapel near his birthplace with his red Gibson Les Paul. And on May 21st, 1981, Jamaican Prime Minister Edward Seaga delivered the final funeral eulogy to Marley. So he declared that his voice was an omnipresent cry in our electronic world, his sharp features, majestic looks, and prancing style a vivid etching on the landscape of our minds. Bob Marley was never seen. He was an experience which left an indelible imprint with each encounter. And such a man cannot be erased from the mind, and he is part of the collective consciousness of the nation. So I'm going to get to the comments, and then I'll show you, I can see if I can find Bob Marley's gravestone. So, let's see. Edwin Cries. Mary says, cancer. Natasha, his son lives downstairs from me. Bob Marley's son. Oh, really? Interesting. And when Cries Mary says, MC's friend from last night. James, thank you for liking this, James. I appreciate it. How are you today? Which one? He was like 35. James, thank you for retweeting this. I appreciate it. The Wind Cries. Amy says, also, Bob Marley had gangrene in his foot, but died of a brain tumor. And J.S. Barnett, thank you very much for liking and retweeting this. I appreciate it. How are you today? And Natasha says, laugh out loud. I know Chris, I think they call him Fire. Natasha says, how about Fatty Arbuckle? Okay, that will be the next celebrity I'll look up. Absolutely. James says, I'm friends with his old guitar player, Donald Kinsey. Interesting. I appreciate that information. Giovanni says, very cool. I may ask what area that was. Bob Marley is like Genghis Khan, many descendants. Los Angeles. Cool. Apparently a lot of people live in LA. Yeah, a lot of people in Meerkat are in LA. Not sure how that happened. There's a problem in the water. Thanks, Natasha, for retweeting and liking this. I appreciate it. All right, so before I get to Fatty Arbuckle, and please let me know if there's any other requests for names that you'd like to give to me. I'd be glad to look them up for you. So before I get to Fatty Arbuckle, I'm going to look up, see if I can find Bob Marley's gravestone. So let's go back. Okay. Bob Marley. All right. So he's actually buried at the Bob Marley Mausoleum in 9 Mile, St. Anne, Jamaica. Official cause of death was cancer, but unfortunately I can't find. So if it's in a mausoleum, it would be a crypt. So I I can't find it on that website. Let me just do a real quick search. So, Bob Marley Crypt. Let's do this real quickly. Yeah, okay. Anyway. Okay, so moving on. And Giovanni says, how about Paul Simon and his friend Garfunkel? They're both alive. Yeah, Giovanni, both of those people are still alive. So, sorry to tell you that, but yeah, Simon and Garfunkel are definitely still alive. So our next request was from Natasha, and she requested Fatty Arbuckle. So let's go to Fatty Arbuckle. Okay. I think he died a very long time ago. Wow, okay. Okay, so Fatty Arbuckle was born Roscoe Conkling Arbuckle on March 24th of 1887 in Smith Center, Kansas. And he died on June 29th of 1933 at the age of 46 in New York City, New York. And his official cause of death was a heart attack. And so if you're not sure who he was a silent film actor, he was a comedian, he was a director, and he was a screenwriter. And he was known for working with, let's see, he was actually a mentor to Charlie Chaplin and discovered Buster Keaton and Bob Hope. So he was quite a big star back in the 1910s. So a very long time ago. All right, so let's get to some more details on his death. Let's see. Okay, so in 1932, Arbuckle signed a contract with Warner Brothers to star under his own name in a series of 6 two-reel comedies to be filmed at the Vitaphone Studios in Brooklyn, New York. These 6 short films constitute the only recordings of his voice. Silent film comedian Al St. John, Arbuckle's nephew, and actors Lionel Stander and Shemp Howard appeared with Arbuckle. Arbuckle had finished filming the last of the two-reelers on June 28, 1933, and the next day he was signed by Warner Brothers to make a feature-length film. The night he went out with friends to celebrate his first wedding anniversary, where he reportedly said, "This is the best day of my life," he suffered a heart attack later that night and died in his sleep. He was 46, and his widow Addie requested that his body be cremated, and that was Arbuckle's wish. So, let's see. So he wasn't actually buried anywhere, he was actually cremated. So that's the story of Fatty Arbuckle. So I can't really show you his grave because he was cremated. Giovanni says, damn it. Okay, Giovanni says, oh, I got a good one. JFK Jr. Okay, all right, John F. Kennedy Jr. Great. I'll give you John F. Kennedy Jr. Okay. JFK Jr. Oh, hey, Zero. Thank you for liking and retweeting this. I appreciate it. How are you today? I'm doing pretty well. Okay, so our next person that we're going to go over is John F. Kennedy Jr. So John F. Kennedy Jr. was born John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. on November 25th of 1960 in Washington, D.C., and he died on July 16th, 1999 at the age of 38 in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. and his official cause of death was a plane crash. If you're not aware who that was, he was the only surviving son of U.S. President John F. Kennedy and First Lady Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy, and he was a younger brother of Caroline Kennedy. And his father was actually assassinated just before his 3rd birthday. And I found a pretty cool picture of so that's John F. Kennedy Jr. on the left at the age of 2, with his father John F. Kennedy at the White House. So it's that's actually a pretty cool picture. John F. Kennedy Jr. at the age of 2, staying next to his father, John F. Kennedy, the famous president. Okay, so let's get to some more details on his death. If you're not aware who John F. Kennedy Jr. was, I just told you he was the son of John F. Kennedy, JFK, the president, and so he was often referred to as JFK Jr. or John in the press. Okay, so let's get to some more details on his death. So on July 16th, 1999, Kennedy piloted a Piper Saratoga 2 HP carrying his wife, Carolyn, and her sister, Lauren Bissett, to attend the wedding of his cousin, Rory Kennedy, at Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. He had purchased the plane on April 28, 1999, from Airbound Aviation. Carolyn and Lauren were in the second row of seats, and Kennedy had checked in with the FAA tower at the Martha's Vineyard Airport, but when the plane failed to arrive, the 3 were reported missing. Officials were not optimistic about finding survivors after debris from the aircraft were recovered in the Atlantic Ocean, as well as a black suitcase that belonged to Bissett. President Clinton gave his support to the Kennedy family during the search for the 3. So on July 18th, a Coast Guard admiral declared an end to hope that Kennedy, his wife, and her sister could be found alive. On July 19th, the fragments of Kennedy's plane was found by the NOAA vessel Rude using side-scan sonar. And the next day, Navy divers were allowed to descend into the 52-degree water. The divers found part of the shattered plane strewn over a broad area of seabed 120 feet below the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. So actually the NTSB, which is the National Transportation Safety Board, determined that the plane had crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off Martha's Vineyard, the probable cause being pilot error. Kennedy's failure to maintain control of the airplane during a descent over water at night, which was a result of spatial disorientation. So on the evening of July 21st, autopsies at the county medical examiner's office revealed that the crash victims had died upon impact. So a memorial, so actually the 3 bodies were taken from Hyannis to Duxbury, Massachusetts, where they were cremated in the Mayflower Cemetery crematorium. And Ted Kennedy favored a public service for John, while Caroline Kennedy insisted on family privacy. And in the morning of July 22nd, their ashes were scattered from the Navy destroyer USS Briscoe off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. And a memorial service was held for Kennedy on July 23rd, 1999, at the Church of Thomas More, a church Kennedy had often attended with his mother and sister. So John F. Kennedy Jr.'s ashes were actually scattered, so that they were cremated. He was not buried. Let's see. Zero says I ordered an iPad Air 2. Giovanni says, what's up, amigo? Zero. James says, look up my grandfather, Buka White. He was a famous blues musician and wild guy. Okay, let's see if... all right, James, let's see if we can find him. So it's Bukka White. Let's see. Oh, great. Okay. All right. All right. So Bukka White. Before I get to that, let me just read the rest of these comments. Giovanni says, "How about Gloria Estefan?" I don't know if you're trying to be funny, but Gloria Estefan is still alive. Joints PC, thank you for liking, retweeting us. I appreciate it. Hi, John. How's it going? You like my shirt? Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Pretty big Seinfeld fan. Hey, hi, Gucci420. Thank you for retweeting and liking this. I appreciate it. I enjoy your streams of Simi Valley. I know you set up a camera outside. It's very nice to look at. Appreciate it. Damn it, man, I'm out of the loop. Hope you're having a great day, bro. Yeah, I'm having a great day as well. Yes, it's snazzy. Okay. Alrighty then. So I had a request from James for Bukka White, who was, let's see. Yeah, he was your grandfather. Okay, wonderful. All right, so Bukka White was born Booker T. Washington White on November 12th, 1909, between Aberdeen and Houston, Mississippi, and he died on February 26th of 1977 at the age of 67 in Memphis, Tennessee. So Bukka White was actually an American Delta blues guitarist and singer, and Bukka was a phonetic spelling of White's first name, though he preferred Booker. Let's see if we can get some details on his death. Let's see here. Okay, so it says that White died in February of 1977 from cancer in Memphis, Tennessee. And in 1990, he was posthumously inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame along with Blind Blake and Lonnie Johnson. And on November 21st, 2011, the Recording Academy announced that Fixin' to Die Blues was added to its 2012 list of Grammy Hall of Fame award recipients. And let's see, there's actually a memorial marker from the Mississippi Blues Commission to show you the blues. In 1940, singer-guitarist Bukka White, who lived in Aberdeen during the 1920s and 30s, recorded the blues classic Aberdeen, Mississippi Blues. 23 years later, the song's title enabled blues researchers to relocate White, who subsequently resumed his recording career. According to Social Security records, two of the most influential blues artists of all time, Chester Arthur, Howlin' Wolf Burnett, and Albert King, claimed Aberdeen as their birthplace. So, not really sure if he was buried or cremated, or let me see if there's any information about that. Oh, great. So there's actually a link to find a grave. And let's see. So Bukka White was actually buried at the New Park Cemetery in Memphis, Tennessee. And it gives you actually a picture of it. So let me see here. So here's his gravestone. Yeah, he's buried. Okay. Yep, right here. So Booker W. White, 1909 to 1977, loved by all. So there's his headstone, actually. Let's see. And that's the name of the cemetery, New Park Cemetery. That's in Memphis, Tennessee, I think. Yeah, yep, it's in Memphis, Tennessee. So, there you go. Hi, Gary. How's it going? Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. Is Chef MC here? She was here. I don't know if she's still here. Well, I can see her avatar, but I don't know if she's still here. Guess we'll find out. And yeah, James. Yep, he's buried. So it was a pleasure to look that information up for you. So I'm glad I never heard of that gentleman, but he sounded like a cool guy. So all right. So do you have any more requests for names that you'd like to give me? I'd be glad to look them up for you. Otherwise, I will continue with some more names. So, let's see. So actually, I started the last Celebrity Deaths show that I did. I went through all of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. I went from the very beginning, from the first class in 1986. So I'm going to continue with that, and I'm going to go to Bo Diddley. Let's see. Okay, so we have some more requests. Chester Burnett and Ernest Hemingway. All right, so I'm going to first I'm going to do Bo Diddley, and then I'm going to do Chester Burnett, and then I'm going to do Ernest Hemingway, okay? All right. So, Bo Diddley was actually an American R&B and Chicago blues vocalist, guitarist, songwriter, and music producer. He is known as the originator because of his key role in the transition from the blues to rock and roll and rock, influencing a host of acts including the Animals, Buddy Holly, Jimi Hendrix, the Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, Parliament Funkadelic, the Velvet Underground, the Who, the Yardbirds, the Jesus and Mary Chain, and Eric Clapton, and also Elvis Presley and the Beatles and many others. So Bo Diddley was actually born Ellis Otha Bates. He was born on December 30th of 1928 in Macomb, Mississippi. And he died on June 2nd of 2008 at the age of 79 in Archer, Florida. Okay, and then so let's get to his death. So Bo Diddley died on June 2nd, 2008 of heart failure at his home in Archer, Florida. Gary Mitchell, a grandson of Diddley and one of more than 35 family members at the musician's home when he died at 1:45 a.m. Eastern Time, said his death was not unexpected. So his funeral actually took place on June 7, 2008 at Showers of Blessings Church in Gainesville, Florida, and kept in tune with the vibrant spirit of Bo Diddley's life and career. And the many in attendance included George Thorogood, Tom Petty, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and also Little Richard as well. Let's see. And then it doesn't give, let me see if we can find his gravestone. Okay. So Bo Diddley. Okay, so Bo Diddley was actually buried at Rosemary Hill Cemetery in Bronson, Florida, and that's in Levy County. And let's show you his gravestone. It's very colorful. Here we go. It's very nice looking. It says, Bo Diddley, the mighty Bo Diddley, I'm a man. That's one of his songs. It says, while I'm going to heaven, and blessed and loved and missed, December 30th, 1928 to June 2nd, 2008, a man who lived an abundant life and left a fruitful legacy. And it says pioneer and icon, pharaoh, originator, and legend. There's a number of things below that. It says landmark, inventor, Hall of Famer, historian, incomparable man. And so there's his gravestone. And there's his, there's the other part of it. So there you go. There's a memorial to him. Let me see what else we have. So there's like a farther away picture of it. There's the back of it. And then here's Rosemary Hill Cemetery. So there you go. Oh, great. That's his, okay. That's his old Gretsch guitar, square shape. Interesting. Appreciate that information. Hey, Ed, how's it going today? How are you? Okay. So we actually have another request for Chester Burnett, who is, have been told by James, thank you, he went by Howling Wolf. So yeah, that's the name that I definitely know is Howling Wolf. So yeah, appreciate that. Okay, so that's the next person we're going to look up is Howling Wolf, also known as Chester Burnett. So let's look him up. Okay, so Howlin' Wolf was born Chester Arthur Burnett on June 10th of 1910 in White Station, Mississippi, and he died on January 10th of 1976 at the age of 65 in Hines, Illinois. And if you're not aware who Howlin' Wolf was, he was an African-American Chicago blues singer, guitarist, and harmonica player from Mississippi. And several of his songs were Smokestack Lightnin', Backdoor Man, Killing Floor, and Spoonful. And also I remember his version of I Put a Spell on You as well. And let's see. So let's get to some details on his death. So Burnett, or Howlin' Wolf's health actually began declining in the late 1960s. He experienced several heart attacks and suffered bruised kidneys in a 1970 car accident. And concerned for his health, bandleader Eddie Shaw limited him to a mere 6 songs per concert. So at the start of 1976, Burnett checked into the Veterans Administration Hospital in Hines, Illinois for kidney surgery, but died of complications from the procedure on January 10th of 1976 and was buried in Oak Ridge Cemetery outside of Chicago in a plot in Section 18 on the east side of the road. His gravestone has an edge of a guitar and harmonica etched into it. So his cause of death was that he went for kidney surgery and he died from complications of that surgery. And he was only 65 years old when he died in 1976. Let's see. All right. So actually, let's see if we can find, I don't know if I'll be able to do it or not, but let me see if we can find his gravestone. It's kind of a mystery. Let's see. Howlin' Wolf. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. So again, Howlin' Wolf, or known as Chester Burnett, he was actually buried at Oak Ridge Glen Oak Cemetery in Hillside, Cook County, Illinois. And I actually have a picture of his gravestone for you. So, here we go. So, there's his gravestone. Very nice with flowers there. I have some other pictures for you. There's a better close-up of it. And there's some more here. There's a really good close-up. Here's some more. Okay. And then there we go. There's the cemetery, Oak Ridge Glen Oak Cemeteries. So our next celebrity is Ernest Hemingway. So I'll definitely look that up for you. And let's just get to some more comments here. Natasha says good choices. Yep, they're definitely good choices. Chester goes by Howling Wolf. Appreciate that, James. Ed, thank you for liking and retweeting this. I appreciate it. That's his old Gretsch guitar, square shaped. And how's it going today? I'm doing pretty well. And Ed says, I'm a Man, later covered by Yardbirds with Clapton. Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Malia, for liking and retweeting this. I appreciate it. James says he was a friend to my grandfather. Interesting. And yes, chess recordings, that's right. And actually, have you seen the movie Cadillac Records? It was actually about chess records. And it was also, there was someone played Howlin' Wolf, someone played, obviously Beyonce played Etta James, and who was Jeffrey Wright played Muddy Waters. So, I mean, it wasn't the greatest movie ever made, but it was definitely a good tribute to all the artists at Chess Records. And also Chuck Berry was in the movie, played by Mos Def as well. Zero says, I play the spoons. Gianna says, oh, is Boris Spassky still alive? John Wilkes Booth. All right, let me see. I'll look those names up as well. And Gianna says, I thought Gloria Estefan, Paul Simon, and Garfunkel and Cher were dead. Oops, I'm out. That's all right. Thanks, GN Huru, for retweeting and liking this. I appreciate it. And James says, Eddie Shaw is still performing with his old band, a great storyteller. Interesting. Ed says, no, silly, Sonny Bono is dead, but Cher is still kicking. Yep. Can you do Sonny Bono? Yes, I will do that as well. Malia says, I'm driving, but wanted to hear all about the celebrity deaths. Okay. Appreciate that, Malia. And James says, Eddie Shaw's son is a famous actor and played Champ in Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. Interesting. Appreciate that. His wife still alive. Whose wife are you talking about? Okay, so let's get back to, who was I going to look up? Ernest Hemingway is the next person that I'm going to look up for you. Okay. Okay, so Ernest Hemingway, If I'm not mistaken, I believe he died in Key West, Florida. I think he maybe committed suicide, possibly. I think maybe. So let's pull him up. So Ernest Hemingway was born Ernest Miller Hemingway on July 21st of 1899 in Oak Park, Illinois. Actually, he didn't die in Key West, Florida. I think he lived there for a while, but Ernest Hemingway actually died July 2nd, 1961 in Ketchum, Idaho. So if you're not aware who Ernest Hemingway was, he was an American author and journalist. And he wrote a lot of well-known books. And let's see. Let's get to some details on his death. Okay, so it's a very long story, but let me try to get it. So through the end of the 1950s, Hemingway continued to rework the material that would be published as a movable feast. In the summer of 1959, he visited Spain to research a series of bullfighting articles commissioned by Life magazine. Returned to Cuba in January of 1960 to work on the manuscript. Let's see. And Hemingway was actually found to be unusually hesitant, disorganized, and confused, and he was suffering badly from failing eyesight. So actually, let's see. At this time, Hemingway was worried about money and about his safety. He worried about his taxes and that he would never return to Cuba to retrieve the manuscripts he had left there in a bank vault. He became paranoid and thought the FBI was actively monitoring his movements and catch him. The FBI had opened a file on him during World War II when he used the Pillar to patrol the waters off Cuba, and J. Edgar Hoover had the agent in Havana watch Hemingway during the 1950s. By the end of November, Mary was at wit's end, and Saviers suggested Hemingway go to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, where he may have believed he was being treated for hypertension. So 3 months later, in April of 1961, back in Ketchum, one morning in the kitchen, his wife Mary found Hemingway holding a shotgun. She called Saviers, who sedated him and admitted him to the Sun Valley Hospital. From there, he was returned to the Mayo Clinic for more electroshock treatments. So, let's see. He was released in late June and arrived home in Ketchum on June 30th. And 2 days later, in the early morning hours of July 2nd, 1961, Hemingway quite deliberately shot himself with his favorite shotgun. He unlocked the basement storeroom where his guns were kept, went upstairs to the front entrance foyer of their Ketchum home, and according to Mello, with the double-barreled shotgun that he had used so often it might have been a friend, he shot himself. Mary called the Sun Valley Hospital, and a doctor quickly arrived at the house, and despite his finding that Hemingway had died of a self-inflicted wound to the head, the story to the press was that the death had been accidental. During his final years, Hemingway's behavior was similar to his father's before he himself committed suicide. So, I guess, Ernest Hemingway committed suicide by shooting himself in the head with a shotgun. So Hemingway's family and friends flew to Ketchum for the funeral, which was officiated by the local Catholic priest who believed the death accidental. And in a press interview 5 years later, Mary Hemingway admitted that her husband had committed suicide. So there's a picture here of a memorial to Ernest Hemingway. So that's actually in Hemingway Memorial above Trail Creek in Sun Valley. So there's his bust on top of a memorial. And let's see if we can find there's a gravestone or something. Let's see. Okay, so Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway. Okay, so Ernest Hemingway, official cause of death was suicide by gunshot. He was buried in Ketchum Cemetery in Ketchum, Blaine County, Idaho. So there's his, that's where he's buried. It says Ernest Miller Hemingway, July 21st, 1899, July 2nd, 1961. So that's where he's buried. And here is, that's the cemetery, Ketchum Cemetery in Ketchum, Idaho. So there you go. Is it Idaho or Idaho? Yeah, Ketchum, Idaho. Okay. Alrighty then. Let's see. See what other comments we have. Giovanni wants to know, is Boris Spassky still alive? Okay, Boris Spassky. Boris Spassky. Yes, Boris Spassky is still alive. He was a former Soviet chess grandmaster. So yes, he is. He's currently 78 years old. So he is. Yes, he is still alive. Let's see. John Wilkes Booth. Okay, I'll do John Wilkes Booth. Absolutely. Okay, so before that, before I give you John Wilkes Booth, I will see what other comments we have. Giovanni says, I thought Gloria Estefan. Nope. What are the comments that I miss? Yeah, I got the Sonny Bono. And Natasha says he had a home in Key West. You can tour his home today. All of his cats still live on the property. Appreciate that information. Ruben, thank you for liking this. I appreciate it. Giovanni says, I'd like to add John Steinbeck to the lineup. Sure, absolutely. I'll look up John Steinbeck as well. And The Real Dildo 69, thank you for retweeting and liking this. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, so John Wilkes Booth, and then who else? John Wilkes Booth, and then Sonny Bono, and then John Steinbeck. Okay. All right. So John Wilkes Booth, most people probably know that he was an American stage actor who assassinated President Abraham Lincoln at the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. on April 14th of 1865. So John Wilkes Booth was born on May 10th of 1838 in Bel Air, Maryland, and he died on April 26th of 1865 at the age of 26 in Port Royal, Virginia, and cause of death was gunshot wound. And his final resting place was Greenmount Cemetery. So let's get to some more details on his death. So who's this man named Conger? Okay, so there was a Lieutenant Colonel Everton Conger was actually chasing John Wilkes Booth. So Conger tracked down Jet and interrogated him, learning of Booth's location at the Garrett farm. So before dawn on April 26th, the soldiers caught up with the fugitives who were hiding in Garrett's tobacco barn. David Harold surrendered, but Booth refused Conger's demand to surrender, saying, "I prefer to come out and fight." The soldiers then set the barn on fire. As Booth moved about inside the blazing barn, Sergeant Boston Corbett shot him. According to Corbett's later account, he fired at Booth because the fugitive raised his pistol to shoot at them. Conger's report to Stan, however, stated that Corbett shot Booth without order, pretext, or excuse, and recommended that Corbett be punished for disobeying orders to take Booth alive. Booth was fatally wounded in the neck and was dragged from the barn to the porch of Garrett's farmhouse, where he died 3 hours later, aged 26. The bullet had pierced 3 vertebrae and partially severed his spinal cord, paralyzing him. In his dying moments, he reportedly whispered, "Tell my mother I died for my country," asking that his hands be raised to his face so he could see them. Booth uttered his last words, "Useless, useless," and died as dawn was breaking. Let's see. So I don't really care. If he assassinated Abraham Lincoln, so I'm not going to show you anything as far as his grave or anything like that. I don't think I want to show that. Let's see. Play the spoon. Booth. Okay, so the next person I'm going to do is Sonny Bono. And then John Steinbeck. Bobby Fischer. Okay, I'll do that as well. And Techno Rumors, thank you for liking this. Hey Figtail, thank you for retweeting and liking this. I appreciate it. So, okay, so the next person is Sonny Bono, and then Bobby Fischer. Okay, so Sonny Bono. Okay, so Sonny Bono was born Salvatore Philip Bono on February 16th of 1935 in Detroit, Michigan, and he died on January 5th of 1998 at the age of 62 in State Line, Nevada. His final resting place was at Desert Memorial Park in Cathedral City, California. If you're not aware who Sonny Bono was, he was an American recording artist and producer, and he came to fame with his partnership with his second wife, Cher, as the popular singing duo Sonny and Cher. And he was also the mayor of Palm Springs, California from 1988 to 1992. He was also a congressman for California's 44th District from 1994 until his death in a skiing accident while he was still in office. So let's get to some details on his death. So Bono died on January 5th of 1998 of injuries sustained when he hit a tree while skiing on the Nevada side of Heavenly Ski Resort near South Lake Tahoe, California. His death came just a little less than a week after Michael Kennedy, a son of Robert F. Kennedy, died in a similar skiing accident in Aspen, Colorado. After Bono's death, Mary Bono told an interviewer from TV Guide that Sonny had been addicted to prescription drugs, mainly Vicodin and Valium. Though Mary claimed that Sonny's drug use caused the accident, the autopsy performed by the Douglas County coroner showed no indication of any substances or alcohol, and Sonny's mother and several friends disputed Mary's account. So Bono was survived by his wife Mary Bono and children Christy, Chiana, Chaser, and Chastity, later Chaz Bono. His mother Jean Bono also survived him and died on January 15, 2005 at the age of 90. And at Mary Bono's request, Cher gave a eulogy at Sonny's funeral. His remains were buried at Desert Memorial Park in Cathedral City, California. And the epitaph of Bono's headstone reads, "And the beat goes on," written in uppercase. And so there's actually a picture of Sonny Bono's headstone at Desert Memorial Park in Cathedral City, California. So here we go. So Sonny Bono, 1935 to 1998, and the beat goes on. Okay. And let's see. Yep, I got your request for Bobby Fischer. Okay. Alrighty then. So the next person I'll look up is Bobby Fischer. So Bobby Fischer was born Robert James Fischer. He was born March 9th of 1943 in Chicago, Illinois. And he died on January 17th of 2008 at the age of 64 in Reykjavik, Iceland. So Bobby Fischer was an American chess prodigy, grandmaster, and the 11th world chess champion. Many considered him the greatest chess player of all time. And so let's get to some more details on his death. Okay. Death. So on January 17th of 2008, Fischer died from a degenerative renal failure at the Landspítali Hospital, the National University Hospital of Iceland in Reykjavik. He originally had a urinary tract blockage but refused surgery or medications. Magnus Skulleson reported Fischer's last words as "Nothing is as healing as the human touch." So on January 21st, Fischer was buried in the small Christian cemetery of Laugadelir Church outside of the town of Selfoss, 60 kilometers southeast of Reykjavik, after a Catholic funeral presided over by Friar Jacob Roland of the Diocese of Reykjavik. In accordance with Fischer's wishes, only Miyako Watai, Garar Sverrisson, and Garar's family were present. So here's the church the Church of Lagardère de l'Air. This is Fisher's final resting place. And then here's the actual gravestone. So it says Robert James Fisher, March 9th, 1943, died January 17th, 2008. So there you go, there's his gravestone. Okay, or headstone. Gravestone, headstone, okay. Right. How about Joseph Broz Tito? Okay, I'll look that name up for you. Bionic 1413, thank you for liking this. I appreciate it. Okay. So, Joseph Broz Tito. Okay. So, Joseph Broz Tito was born Joseph Broz on May 7th, 1892 in Kumrovec, Croatia, Slovenia, Austria-Hungary, which is the modern Croatia. And he died on May 4th of 1980 at the age of 87 in I don't know how to pronounce it, Ljubljana, Slovenia, Yugoslavia. His final resting place was House of Flowers in Belgrade, Republic of Serbia. So, Joseph Broz Tito was a Yugoslav revolutionary and statesman serving in various roles from 1943 until his death in 1980. So let's get to some more details on his death. Okay. So Tito became increasingly ill over the course of 1979. During this time, Villa Cerna was built for his use near Moravik in the event of his recovery. On January 7th and again on January 11th, 1980, Tito was admitted to the medical center in Ljubljana, the capital city of the SR Slovenia, with circulation problems in his legs. His left leg was amputated soon afterward due to arterial blockages, and he died of gangrene at the medical center, Ljubljana, on May 4th of 1980, and 3 days short of his 88th birthday. His funeral drew many world statesmen. Based on the number of attending politicians and state delegations at the time, it was the largest state funeral in history. It was actually unmatched until the funeral of Pope John Paul II in 2005 and the memorial service of Nelson Mandela in 2013. So, let's see. So here's the tomb of Joseph Broz Tito. So there's his tomb. All right. And Giovanni wants to know, how about... Oh, okay, I already asked that. And Bionic, thank you for liking this. I appreciate it. And Louis Zamperini. Oh, okay. I think he recently died, right? Okay, I'll look up Louis Zamperini for you. Louis Zamperini. I think that's his name. Zamperini. Z-A-M-P. Okay. He lived a very long life. So Louis Zamperini was born Louis Silvi Zamperini. He was born in Olean, New York, and he died on July 2nd, 2014. So he was born January 26, 1917, and he died July 2nd, 2014, at the age of 97 in Los Angeles, California. Louis Zamperini was an American prisoner of war survivor in World War II, a Christian inspirational speaker, and an Olympic distance runner. Zamperini is the subject of 2 biographies and the 2014 film Unbroken. All right, so let's get to some details on his death. He died at the age of 97, so let's see what it says. So his death had mistakenly been announced previously when the U.S. government classified him as KIA, which means killed in action, during World War II after his B-24 Liberator aircraft went down in 1943 and no survivors were located by the military. President Franklin D. Roosevelt even sent Zamperini's parents a formal condolence note in 1944. But actually, Zamperini's death came 70 years later from pneumonia on July 2nd of 2014 in Los Angeles at home, aged 97. So there's actually a number of things that are named after him, including Louis Zamperini Plaza on the campus of the University of Southern California. So it's called Zamperini Plaza. And also they are named, it's called Zamperini Stadium at Torrance High School. So there's another place called Zamperini Stadium at Torrance High School in Torrance, California. And there you go. So let's see if we can find a grave for him. Okay, so let's search for Louis Zamperini. Okay. Okay, so the reason why we can't find a grave for Louis Zamperini is because he was cremated. He was cremated and his ashes were given to a family or friend. So Louis Zamperini died at the age of 97, but he was actually cremated. So there isn't a grave for him. Please let me know if you have any more requests for names. If not, then I will continue with some more Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. But looks like we have one more. We have another one from Giovanni. I appreciate all these names. And Natasha, if you're still here, let me know if you have any other names as well. Please let me know. And anybody else, if you'd like to contribute to this, please let me know if there's any celebrity names that have passed away, and I'll give you as much information as possible about that celebrity name. So please let me know. Nikita Khrushchev. Okay. All right, Nikita Khrushchev. Nikita Khrushchev. Okay, so Nikita Khrushchev was born Nikita Sergeyevich Khrushchev. He was born April 15th of 1894 in Kalinovka, Dmitrevsky Uyesved Kurst Governate, Russian Empire. And he died, so he was born April 15th, 1894, and he died September 11th, 1971, at the age of 77, in Moscow, Russian Soviet Union. And so Nikita Khrushchev was a Russian politician who led the Soviet Union during part of the Cold War. And he served as first secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1953 to 1964, and as chairman of the Council of Ministers, or premier, from 1958 to 1964. And Khrushchev was responsible for the de-Stalinization of the Soviet Union, for backing the progress of the early Soviet space program, and so for several relatively liberal reforms in areas of domestic policy. So let's get to some details on his death. Okay. So Khrushchev died of a heart attack in a hospital near his home in Moscow on September 11th, 1971, and is buried in the Novodevichy Cemetery in Moscow, having been denied a state funeral and interment in the Kremlin wall. Fearing demonstrations, the authorities did not announce Khrushchev's death until the hour of his wake and surrounded the cemetery with troops. Even so, some artists and writers joined the family at the graveside for the interment. Let's see. So I don't know if we can find anything as far as a picture of his burial. Let me see. Just do a quick search for that. So Nikita Khrushchev. Oh, okay. Let me see if we have any pictures. Oh, interesting. So again, Nikita Khrushchev was buried at Novodevichy Cemetery in Moscow, Federal City, Russian Federation. So here's actually his, right here. So I found it. Okay. Here's his memorial right here. I don't know if it's, I think it's, yeah, pretty sure it's a gravestone, I think. So there we go. So there's Nikita Khrushchev. See what else we have. So there's another picture of it. And what's that? Oh, the Main Street Gate. Okay. Okay, so there you go. Okay, Giovanni, thank you so much. Okay, so the next name, Pier Mario Marassini. Okay, Pier Mario Marassini. So that's the next name, Pier Mario Marassini. Oh, okay. Alrighty then. So, Pier Mario Marassini was an Italian professional footballer who last played as a midfielder for Livorno on loan from Udinese. So, Pier Mario Marassini was born on July 5th of 1986. He was born in Bergamo, Italy, and he died on April 14th of 2012, only at the age of 25. So he actually died in Pescara, Italy, And it says he suffered, actually during a match, he suffered a fatal cardiac arrest on the pitch. So let me see if there's any other details. So on April 14th of 2012, while representing Livorno, Morosini suffered cardiac arrest and fell to the ground in the 31st minute of the Serie B match against Pescara. He stumbled on the ground trying to get up before losing consciousness and receiving medical attention on the field. A defibrillator was used on Morosini, who was conscious when he was taken on the stretcher. According to the news agency ANSA, a city police car was blocking the stadium's exit for the ambulance for nearly a minute, but a heart specialist said that the delay made no difference. After Morosini was taken to the hospital, the match was abandoned with Livorno leading 2-0, and some players reportedly left the field in tears. Morosini was rushed to the Santo Spirito Hospital, but reports later indicated that he died before reaching the hospital. Italian media reports were alerted of Morosini's death after an explosion of shouts and tears by his teammates who had gone to the hospital. All of the Italian Football League matches for the weekend were suspended, and Livorno then decided they would retire the number 25, the number that Morosini wore whilst a Livorno player. But Morosini's death came 4 weeks after Fabrice Muamba suffered a cardiac arrest in the English FA Cup match, after which awareness of heart risk had been raised in Italian football. Morosini's sister, who is disabled, was left with no family. However, both Udinese and striker Antonio Di Natale confirmed that they will financially support and look after her. So, Piermario Morosini died of cardiac arrest during a match. Very, very tragic. So let me see if we have anything as far as burial. Now we'll get to your comments in just 1 second. Okay, so Piermario Morosini was actually buried at Cimitero Monumentale de Bergamo in Provincia de Bergamo, Lombardia, Italy. I don't have a gravestone, but so that's where he was actually buried. Okay. Giovanni Patricia Lumumba is a good one. Oh, sorry, Patrice Lumumba. Is that the name that I just, let's see, was mentioned? Yes. Fabrice, do you mean Fabrice Lumumba? Is that, I mean, wait a minute. Is Patrice Lumumba? Wait. Patrice, oh, okay, so that's a different person, okay. Patrice Lumumba. Oh, all right. Okay. So Patrice Lumumba was a Congolese independence leader and the first democratically elected prime minister of the Congo. As founder and leader of the mainstream movement National Congolais Party, Lumumba played an important role in campaigning for independence from Belgium. So before we do that, let me just get to some more comments. Thanks, Puerto Rican, for liking this. I appreciate it. Okay, Robin Williams. Sure, absolutely. I'll look that up for you. And Broker507, thank you for retweeting this. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's continue with Patrice Lumumba. So Patrice Lumumba was born Elias Okit Asambo, born July 2nd, 1925, in Kata Kokakambi, Belgian Congo, which is now Congo Kinshasa, and he died on January 17th of 1961 at the age of 35 in Elizabethville, Katanga, which is now Lubumbashi, Congo Kinshasa. So let's get to some details on his death. So, as a backstory, a few days after Congo gained its independence, Lumumba made the fateful decision to raise the pay of all of the government employees except for the army. So many units of the army also had strong objections toward the uniformly Belgian officers. General Emile Janssens, the army head, told them that their lot would not change after independence. So the rebellions quickly spread throughout the country, leading to a general breakdown in law and order. So in September, one second. So in September, the president dismissed Lumumba from government, and Lumumba immediately protested the legality of the president's actions. In retaliation, Lumumba declared Kasavubu deposed and won a vote of confidence in the Senate. And then on September 14th, Colonel Joseph Mobutu incapacitated both Lumumba and Kasavubu. And Lumumba was placed under house arrest at the Prime Minister's residence. So Lumumba was first sent on December 3rd to Thysville Military Barracks, Camp Hardy. However, then security and disciplinary breaches threatened his safety. It was decided that he should be transferred to the state of Katanga, which had recently declared independence from Congo. So, let's see. So Lumumba was forcibly restrained on the flight to Elizabethville on January 17, 1961. And on arrival, he was conducted under arrest to Browa's house, where he was brutally beaten and tortured by Katangan and Belgian officers, while President Tshambi and his cabinet decided what to do with him. Later that night, Lumumba was driven to an isolated spot where 3 firing squads had been assembled. The Belgian Commission has found that the execution was carried out by Katanga's authorities. So it was reported that President Tshambi and other 2 ministers were present with 4 Belgian officers under the command of Katangan authorities. And Lumumba and 2 ministers from his newly formed independent government, Maurice Mapolo and Joseph Akita, were lined up against a tree and shot one at a time. The execution probably took place on January 17th, 1961, according to a Belgian report. The Belgians and their counterparts wished to get rid of the bodies, which were dug up, dismembered, dissolved in sulfuric acid, with the bones ground and scattered. No statement was released until 3 weeks later, despite rumors that Lumumba was dead. His death was formally announced on Katangan radio when it was alleged that he escaped and was killed by enraged villagers. Wow, okay. So, there's the details on his death. Let's see here. Thanks for liking this Pareto reading. I appreciate it. Yes, I will get to Robin Williams in 1 second. Let me just check some more of the comments. And thank you again, Proker507, for retweeting this. And RK1965 says, actors should have a physical test because of the millions of dollars investment. Yes. Okay. And Hirsch Schwartz, 108. Thank you for liking this. I appreciate it. Okay. So, the next request that we have is Robin Williams. Okay. So, Robin Williams was an American actor and comedian. He started out as a stand-up comedian in San Francisco and Los Angeles in the mid-1970s. He was most well known for being on the sitcom Mork and Mindy as the part of Mork. He made his film debut in the musical comedy Popeye. He was in The World According to Garp, Good Morning Vietnam, Dead Poets Society, Awakenings. He actually won an Oscar for Good Will Hunting. He's in Mrs. Doubtfire, The Birdcage, Jumanji, a number of performances, another number of good performances. And let's see. So Robin Williams was born July 21st, 1951 in Chicago, Illinois. He was born Robin McLaurin Williams, July 21st, 1951, Chicago, Illinois, and he died August 11th, 2014 at the age of 63 in Paradise Cay, California. The official cause of death was asphyxiation by hanging. So let's get some more details on his death. So Williams committed suicide on August 11, 2014 in his home in unincorporated Paradise Cay, California at the age of 63. In the initial report released on August 12th, the Marin County Sheriff's Office deputy coroner stated that Williams had hanged himself with a belt and died from asphyxiation. It was revealed following his death that Williams had been suffering from severe depression and had been sleeping in a different room from his wife due to restlessness and anxiety caused by his Parkinson's. The final autopsy report released in November of 2014 affirmed that Williams had committed suicide as initially described. Neither alcohol nor illegal drugs were involved, while any prescription drugs present in Williams' body were at therapeutic levels. The report also noted that Williams had been suffering a recent increase in paranoia. An examination of his brain tissue revealed the presence of diffuse Lewy body dementia. Williams' doctors reportedly believed that Lewy body dementia was the critical factor that led to his suicide. So what is Lewy body dementia? Okay, so it's a type of dementia closely associated with Parkinson's disease. So his body was cremated and his ashes were spread in the San Francisco Bay on August 21st. So there's no burial because his ashes were cremated. His body was cremated. His ashes were spread in the San Francisco Bay on August 21st. So here's actually a tribute to Robin Williams. This is actually the house that they filmed in the film Mrs. Doubtfire. So fans put out flowers and different memorials in front of the house that they use in the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. And that's in San Francisco. Okay. Okay, so Giovanni says, how about Idi Amin? Okay, all right, I'll do that as well. This kind friend, thank you for retweeting and liking this. I appreciate it. And Milad Marabi 2, thank you for liking this. I appreciate it. How are you today? Okay, so Idi Amin. Okay. So Idi Amin was born Idi Amin Dada. He was born, let's see, it says either 1925 or between the years of 1923 to 1928. They're not exactly sure. But he died on August 16th of 2003. He was the third president of Uganda, ruling from 1971 to 1979. And Amin joined the British colonial regiment, the King's African Rifles, in 1946, serving in Kenya and Uganda. Eventually, Amin held the rank of Major General in the post-colonial Ugandan Army and became its commander before seizing power in the military coup of January 1971, deposing Milton Obote. He later promoted himself to Field Marshal while he was the head of state. All right, so he died August 16, 2003 at the age of 78 in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. So let's get to some more details on his death. So on July 19th, 2003, one of Amin's wives, Medina, reported that he was in a coma and near death at the King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia from kidney failure. She pleaded with the Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni to allow him to return to Uganda for the remainder of his life. Museveni replied that Amin would have to answer for his sins the moment he was brought back. Amin's family decided to disconnect life support, and Amin died at the hospital in Jeddah on August 16, 2003. He was buried in Ruwas Cemetery in Jeddah in a simple grave without any fanfare. So there you go. So that's how Idi Amin died. Thank you, D's Skills 635. Thank you for liking and retweeting this. I appreciate it. And this kind friend says, will you be acquiring a Katch Cats account to spread your knowledge further for a more permanent pop culture show that catching up? Yeah, actually, if you go to catchcats.com/popculture27, then yes, all my streams are automatically recorded. So let's see. Yeah, so let me put that in for you. It's also on my Twitter. There's a link on my Twitter account to it as well. So catchcats.com/popculture27. So there you go. So if you go to that website right now, you will see. Let me see. You'll see all of my streams that have been automatically recorded. So yeah, it's already set up. So, but I appreciate that, this kind friend. Okay. Okay. Oh, no, it's just so yeah, if you go to my Twitter account, you'll see in my profile on the left side, so it says about me, so like daily pop culture news on Meerkat, and then underneath that it gives my Meerkat link, and then underneath that it says catchcats.com/popculture27. So yeah. Okay. So Giovanni wants to know Jimmy Doolittle, and kind friend says fun, we both, and in the same state, mate. Yeah. Okay. All right, so Jimmy Doolittle, let's look that up. Yeah, I'm 30 years old. So, Giovanni, do you mean? Wait a minute. So there's two different. Oh, Jimmy Doolittle, the U.S. Army general, aviator, and World War II hero. Is that who you're referring to, or is it the U.S. Senator from Wisconsin? I would assume you're referring to the World War II hero, right? Let me just make sure. Please let me know. The guy that died in 1993. Is that what you're referring to? I just want to make sure I have the right person. And then Giovanni says Archibald Wavell. Okay. General Doolittle. Okay. All right. Great. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So Jimmy Doolittle. Jimmy Doolittle was born James Harold Doolittle. His nickname was Jimmy. He was born on December 14th of 1896 in Alameda, California, and he died on September 27th of 1993 at the age of 96 in Pebble Beach, California. He was buried in Arlington National Cemetery, and he was an American aviation pioneer. Doolittle served as a commissioned officer in the United States Army Air Forces during the Second World War and was awarded the Medal of Honor for his valor and leadership as commander of the Doolittle Raid while a lieutenant colonel. So let's get to his details on his death. Let me see. Okay. Okay, so James H. Jimmy Doolittle died at the age of 96 in Pebble Beach, California on September 27th, 1993, and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia near Washington, D.C., next to his wife. In his honor at the funeral, there was also a flyover Miss Mitchell, a lone B-25 Mitchell, and the USAF 8th Air Force bombers from Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana. After a brief graveside service, Raiders bugler Bill Bauer began the final tribute. When emotion took over, Doolittle's great-grandson, Paul Dean Crane Jr., played taps flawlessly. Let's see. So I would assume he died of natural causes. He was 96 years old. Let me see if I can get his gravestone. It's at the Arlington National Cemetery. Okay, so again, General Jimmy Doolittle was buried at the Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington County, Virginia. And here we go. So I actually have his gravestone right there. Grave marker, actually. So it says James H. Doolittle, Medal of Honor, General, U.S. Air Force, World War II, Korea, December 14th, 1896 to September 27th, 1993. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to do this show for too much longer, but maybe I'll do it for like another maybe 10 minutes or so, or a few more minutes. Let's see. Okay, so Archibald Wavell is the next one. Okay. So Archibald Wavell. Okay, so Archibald Wavell, 1st Earl Wavell, was, let's see, was a senior commander in the British Army. He served in the Second Boer War, the Bizarre Valley Campaign, and the Great War, during which he was wounded in the Second Battle of Ypres. He served in the Second World War initially as Commander-in-Chief of the Middle East, in which he led British forces to victory over the Italians in western Egypt and eastern Libya during Operation Compass in December of 1940, only to be defeated by the German army in the Western Desert in April 1941. He served as Commander-in-Chief India from July 1941 until June 1943, then served as Viceroy of India until his retirement in February of 1947. So Archibald Wavell, 1st Earl Wavell, was born Archibald Percival Wavell, May 5th of 1883 in Colchester, Essex, United Kingdom, and he died on May 24th of 1950 at the age of 67 in Westminster, London, United Kingdom. And let's see about his death. So Wavell died on May 24th, 1950 after a relapse following abdominal surgery on May 5th. After his death, his body lay in state at the Tower of London, where he had been constable. A military funeral was held on June 7th, 1950, with the funeral procession traveling along the Thames from the Tower to Westminster Pier and then to Westminster Abbey for the funeral service. This was the first military funeral by river since that of Horatio Nelson, 1st Viscount Nelson in 1806, and the funeral was attended by then Prime Minister Clement Attlee, as well as Lord Halifax and fellow officers including Field Marshals Alan Brooke and Montgomery, and Winston Churchill did not attend the service. Wavell is buried in the old medieval cloister at Winchester College next to the Chantry Chapel. His tombstone simply bears the inscription Wavell, St. Andrew's Garrison Church, Aldershot, and Army Church contains a large wooden plaque dedicated to Lord Wavell. So here's some memorial plaques for Archibald Wavell. So here hangs the banner of a Knight Grand Cross, the Most Honorable Order of the Bath, Archibald Percival. Okay. And Okay. Ord Charles Wingate. All right. Okay, Charles Wingate. Ord Charles Lord. You mean Lord Charles Wingate? Okay, that'll be the final name. Okay. All right. So the final name will be Lord Charles Wingate. All right. And Tutaki, thank you for retweeting and liking this. I appreciate it. And Akayarda, I love you so much. Fun and addicting, but it's a great day for me to be a good day for me to be a good day for me to. Okay, that's great. Daiwu, thank you, Diana, for liking, retweeting this. I appreciate it. Hi, Diana, how's it going? Okay, so the final name will be, what was that one? Oh, was it Lord Charles Wingate? Charles Wingate. Oh, Ord. Oh, so it's not Lord, it's Ord. Okay. So Ord Charles Wingate. Ord Wingate. Okay. Alrighty then. All right. Yes, it's Ord then. Okay. So it's not Lord, it's Ord. It's a weird British name, Ord. Okay. Alrighty then. So so Ord Wingate, Major General Ord Charles Wingate, was a British Army officer known for creating special military units in Palestine in the 1930s and in Abyssinia, Sudan, and Burma during World War II. He is most famous for his creation of the Chindits, airborne deep penetration troops trained to work behind enemy lines in the Far East campaigns against the Japanese during World War II. Wingate is regarded as one of the founders of modern guerrilla warfare. His early ideas on the use of unconventional irregular troops in guerrilla warfare during the successful Abyssinia campaign were later developed by special forces in North Africa, where the newly formed Special Air Service worked behind enemy lines in a similar fashion. Wingate later used the same techniques in Burma. His long-range penetration techniques influenced military strategy and tactics. All right, so Ord Charles Wingate, was born on February 26th of 1903 in Nainital, Uttarakhand, India, and he died on March 24th, 1944, at the age of 41 near Bishnupur, Manipur, India. He was buried initially near Bishnupur, India, later exhumed and reburied in Arlington National Cemetery. So let's get to some details on his death. So on March 24th, 1944, Wingate flew to assess the situations in 3 Chindet-held bases in Burma. On his return flying from Imphal to Lalagat, the US AAF B-25 Mitchell bomber of the 1st Air Commando Group, in which he was flying, crashed into jungle-covered hills in the present-day state of Manipur in northeast India, where he died, along with 9 others. In place of Wingate, Brigadier later Lieutenant General Walter Lentani was appointed to overall command of LRP forces in the rank of acting Major General. He flew out of Burma to assume command as Japanese forces began their assault on Imphal, and command of Litani's 111 Brigade in Burma was assigned to Lieutenant Colonel Jumbo Morris. And Wingate and 9 other crash victims were initially buried in a common grave close to the crash site near the village of Bishanpur in the present-day state of Manipur in India, but the bodies were charred beyond recognition, hence individuals could not be identified under medical practices of the day, as identification from medical records was not possible. Since 7 of the 10 crash victims, including both pilots, were Americans, all 10 bodies were exhumed in 1947 and reburied in Imphal, India, and yet again exhumed in 1950 and flown to Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia, USA for reburial. The exhumation was possible courtesy of an amicable three-way agreement among the governments of India, Britain, and the U.S. in accordance with the family's wishes. All right, so let's see if we can find where he's buried at the Arlington National Cemetery. So, let's see. Ord Wingate. So again, Ord Charles Wingate was buried at Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, Arlington County, Virginia. And let's see here. Okay. So here's his headstone right. So he's actually buried along with all the other people that I guess died in that same plane crash. So as you can see at the bottom, it says Ord Charles Wingate died in airplane crash, World War II, March 24th, 1944. So there you go. Okay. And there's the front of Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington County, Virginia. Juan Cruz says, I just tuned. I appreciate you tuning in. Okay. So it looks like we've come to the end of today's stream. If I'm reading this right, it looks like 156 people are tuning in right now, or I'm not really sure how many people actually are tuning in, but it looks like it says 1,188 people have either came in and came out, tuned in and tuned out. So that's quite impressive. So I really appreciate all of the contributions, Giovanni Franco. So if you're not already following Giovanni Franco, so it's Franco the G, at Franco the G. I really appreciate all your wonderful contributions to the show today. And everyone else, I thank you very much for tuning in. And Juan Cruz, thank you for liking this. I appreciate it. So this was a very fun show, and I really encourage everyone to follow me if you're not already following me. It's at PopCulture27. So also at PopCulture27 on Twitter. And I appreciate the smiley faces, Malia. So if you're not already aware, I do a daily pop culture news show, usually Monday through Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. So if you can tune into that, I appreciate that as well. On my daily pop culture news show, I do anything from movies and television news. I do sports news. I do technology. I do so anything that's in the news, I would definitely cover. And then sometimes I do movie reviews. I do some television series reviews. I also show trailers of movies and television shows as well. So I kind of cover the whole spectrum. So again, I appreciate everyone tuning in, and Giovanni, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So again, I hope everyone has a great rest of their weekend, and I hope to see you tomorrow. I will be scheduling another stream for my daily pop culture news show tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. So again, thank you for tuning in today. I hope everyone has a great day, okay? Goodbye, everyone.